One of the most exciting aspects of writing and even reading fiction is the world in which the characters live. Is it a version of Earth where wizards and their ilk mingle among us without being noticed? Is it an alien world full of terrifying, Giger-esque eusocial monsters? Or is it an alternate reality where the characters are anthropomorphic animals operating with 21st century efficiency? We're going to be looking at how to take familiar elements and transform them into an imaginative new experience. I'm your host, Garrett K. Jones, and we are continuing our Season 5 deep dive into exploring elements of world building. Welcome back to The Right Way. We have a great episode in store for you with this week's content, but before we jump into this month's writing tips, there are just a couple of announcements that you need to be aware of. First, if you didn't get a chance to watch last week's live stream, I have it linked down in the video description. Second, there are just a few days left for you to help me support No Shave November and help me raise money for and awareness about the research that is going into curing cancers that specifically target men. Now, I've been trying to kick cancer in the balls by growing my beard and showing off the development all month long while raising donations. And while my beard isn't that manly in the video, I have actually been sharing my progress on social media. Here's the incentive. Whoever makes the largest donation by the end of November gets to decide what I do with the beard when November ends in just 4 days. You can make those donations at the link in the video description, and you get to decide what I do with this beard. World building is one of the most crucial aspects of writing. We are going to continue looking at Ellen Brock's world building Bible template and applying it through the lens of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Last month we examined what the Avatar's natural world was like, talking about the geological and geographical features as well as the various flora and fauna. This month we are tackling 3 more categories from the 21 that Brock listed. Today we're going to be covering locations, travel, and architecture and infrastructure. Let's dive in, shall we? We are going to start with locations. The world of Avatar has a plethora of locations littered throughout its 3-season run. There are 7 bullet points for this category. There are natural formations, monuments, government buildings and castles. This next one I'm listing as transit. Then there's shops or stores, housing, and then countries, states, and cities. I'm ignoring planets since everything takes place on Earth, though I guess I could replace planets with dimensions as Aang travels to the spirit world on occasion. Let's start at the bottom of the list. There are countries in Avatar: the Northern and Southern Water Tribes, the Fire Nation, the Earth Kingdom, and the 4 Temples of the Air Nomads. Each one is unique. While the Northern and Southern Water Tribes have similar cultural values, they are leagues apart in the way that they operate. The North is a massive ice complex with canals and streets and courtyards, while the Southern tribe is a small village which virtually has nothing but the land and the ice and the water as their natural resources. Both poles have chieftains, but only the North really has any semblance of an organized government structure. And this is mainly because they had a better method for withstanding assaults from the Fire Nation. The South didn't have those defenses, and with many of the Southern warriors going off to war, it left the South unprotected and vulnerable. But then you have the Earth Kingdom and the Fire Nation. Both have formal government structures and cities. The Earth Kingdom especially boasts the largest cities like Omashu and Ba Sing Se. The former has an intricate mail delivery system, while the latter has a dynamic social hierarchy with circular walls ringing the city and dividing the population by class. But the Earth Kingdom's capital city also has something very unique about it that the other cities throughout the world don't have, and that's trains of a sort. I'll get back to transportation in a moment, but let's jump into monuments. There are several shrines and monuments throughout the world, like the shrine on Kyoshi Island to Avatar Kyoshi, or in Qin Village, where a monument was built in honor of the lost Qin the Great, or Qin the Conqueror, who died after facing off against Avatar Kyoshi when she separated her home village from the peninsula on which Qin stood and turned it into an island. In the Fire Nation, the Gates of Azulan were a huge set of metal nets lanced with flames to block incoming enemy ships from moving into territorial waters. The nets spanned on either side of a massive statue of Fire Lord Ozai's father Azulan. Even various Avatar statues existed in vaulted chambers at the 4 air temples, or like the one seen in the shrine of Avatar Roku at the Fire Sage Temple seen in Season 1. So here's the first writing tip. When developing any of the countries for your story, make sure they have as much nuance and detail as possible. Look for similarities and differences, but also how to incorporate their architecture and nature. The waterbenders and earthbenders have an organic relationship with their environment, using the elements at their disposal to make fantastic structures, while the air nomads and the Fire Nation go through processes of manufacturing their buildings. The firebenders take it to the next level to subdue and control nature because of the use of their element is all about control. So it's already within their mindset. Now let's take a look at travel. In Avatar, you see more medieval forms of travel, especially among the Earth Kingdom, water tribes, and the air nomads, with the use of animals as mounts like sky bison or ostrich horses. Azula and her crew rode giant lizards, and of course there were the rough rhinos and June with her sheer shrew. Most of the industrial mechanized forms of transport are seen in the Fire Nation, from their tanks, carrier trains, the massive drill, and their ash-spewing steamer ships. There are standard wind-driven ships as well, but not usually in the Fire Nation. Eventually, the Fire Nation invents mechanized air travel. So how do we incorporate travel into your writing? Is it ambulatory, meaning is it walking or running? Or is it medieval? Is it mechanized industrial, or is it more technologically advanced? So here's the next writing tip. Create a variety of methods for transportation in your story, because different people groups and different eras of history use different methods. Now we're taking a look at architecture and infrastructure. This is going to have you look at building materials, appearances and layouts of houses, shops, and stores, the design of streets and walkways, availability of plumbing and sewage, garbage collection, energy distribution, and burial practices. This category focuses on the minutiae of what we take for granted in our day-to-day lives that would throw our world out of balance if they stopped. In Avatar, if the massive stone wall outside Ba Sing Se fell, it would spell doom for the inhabitants as the Fire Nation swarms in and takes over. If the mail delivery system in the city of Omashu was thrown into chaos because, let's just say, a 112-year-old kid used it as his own personal roller coaster, how would that affect the daily operation in the city? Or a pork cabbage merchant? My cabbages! So here's the writing tip for this particular category. When developing the architecture and infrastructure of the environments in your story, consider what would happen if that item ceased to function and what kind of inconvenience it would create. People like convenience, and they get used to the routines afforded them by the current infrastructure. What happens when that changes, either by improvements or because it goes away. That's for you to decide, but it's something to consider when you're writing your story. So those are the 3 writing tips for this month. When developing any of the countries or locations for your story, make sure that they have as much nuance and detail as possible. Create a variety of methods for transportation in your story because different people groups and different eras of history use different methods. And then finally, consider what would happen if that item in their infrastructure ceased to function and what kind of inconvenience it would create. Next month, we will take a look at the next 3 categories in Brock's World Building Bible, which include medicine, professions, and economy. Hey, thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on new videos. They come out every Saturday. You can support the channel on Patreon and the merch store. Those links can be found in the video description. Make sure to tune in next week for the new Top 10 list featuring gonzo fiction author Adam Perry. See you then.